I've walked down this street hundreds of times, and every single time I do, I've thought there should be a house at the end of this block. Well, finally there is. After a couple hundred days and a couple $100,000, there's a brand new house. So we are finally here. It's been a long journey to get here, but the house is actually done. And I am so excited to show you guys the inside. We're gonna do a cost breakdown. We're gonna kind of share some lessons learned, and we're gonna show what we're gonna do next. So let's go check it out. Welcome to the inside of the finished Daddio. We're here in the open living and dining concept here. This is a 1,000 square foot, 2-bed, 2-bath home. We're furnishing currently this house, so we can offer it as a furnished rental. And some of the parts that I've really enjoyed about this is we did our own custom table, custom coffee table. We did some open shelves and kind of put together a really nice kitchen with gold accents, hard surface countertops, and big window right behind the sink, which I love. And one of my favorite features of this downstairs is this seating bench area. It was kind of designed by the architects to be a place where you could kind of change your shoes. And we've taken the opportunity to build a vertical slat wood wall, which matches and ties together the downstairs with these kind of warm, natural wood tones, which I really love. Okay, and now let's head upstairs where we've got 2 bedrooms, 1 full bath, and plenty of storage space. You know, as we head up here, you can see some of the natural wood accents that we carried on up through the upstairs of the house. And here on the left, we have our first kind of primary bedroom. And it's got nice big windows, vaulted ceilings, which people really love, and closets that are extremely functional. At the other end of this hallway, we've got another bedroom, which we're still furnishing. And this one also has big windows, big closets, vaulted ceilings again, super functional. A lot of space for a 1,000 square foot Daddio. And then in the middle of this hallway, we've got the full bath, which has got a double vanity, a full bath, and vaulted ceilings, natural light coming through the window. Really quite nice. So you didn't say anything?
No. Unless you want to say something. No. No, I'm good. I was just on camera.
He said a no, okay?
Okay, let's get to the stuff you really want to hear. How long did it take and how much did it cost? We broke ground on the foundation on April 23rd, and today is 238 days later, sometime in December. So it took 238 days from when we broke ground to when we permit finaled and got the house staged. How much did it cost? And this one actually surprised me. I was not thinking we'd come in at this amount, but I am extremely happy. The total cost for this build from start to finish, including everything I've spent, is $227,000. So that number is actually pretty surprising to me because I built a smaller house last time, which came in at almost the same cost. I think it was about $215,000, and this one's coming in at $227,000, but it's much bigger. It's a lot bigger house. So super cool. Let's dive into that number, and I want to break down for you guys in order from the most expensive to kind of least expensive big ticket items, like the big chunks of work that you have to do, how much those cost. Let's dive in. Starting with the most expensive kind of chunk of work. So siding, windows, exterior door, labor materials came in at $26,700. which was the most expensive chunk of work out of everything. Next up after that is foundation. So that's excavation, foundation walls, foundation slab. That came in at $25,000. Next after that on the list is framing. So that's labor, materials to actually frame the entire house, including the trusses, all the lumber, all of that stuff. That came in at $25,300. And if you remember from our framing video, it was probably one of the more challenging segments of this build. We had to kind of chase down that contractor, fix a bunch of issues. It took 3 times longer than we thought, and it was just a lot of work to get through that. Next one after this is drywall and paint. So you always actually want to combine these two. Having your painter be your drywaller will save you so many headaches, because the painter won't come to you and say, make the drywaller fix it, because the painter is the drywaller. So make the painter and the drywaller the same person. Save you so many headaches. And that came in at $15,700. And that actually includes exterior paint too. So that's all the painting and all the drywall at $15,700, which is a screaming deal. Next after that is electrical. So this is labor, materials for service hookup, including permit fees for getting your electrical service, rough-in electrical and trim. It came in at $15,400, which also pretty fantastic deal. Next after that is HVAC. So that's these mini split heads and the exterior heat pumps. That came in at about $15,000 when including some of the vents. Next one after that is plumbing. So this is labor, materials for the in-ground plumbing, the trim, the rough-in plumbing, all of that. Came in at $12,400. Next chunk of work is flooring, trim, doors. So that's interior doors, the flooring, the labor, the casing around the doors. I didn't do casing on the windows. Saves you $1,000, $2,000 to do that. But everything else came in at $13,500. Kind of rounding this out are landscaping at $9,500. So this is fencing, sod, walkway, patio, and then for kind of soft costs, survey, permitting fees, architecture fees, those came in at $9,500. And this is a pre-approved dado, so that's really cheap. If you do kind of a custom design dado, add about $10,000 to that. So you normally spend about $20,000 on permitting, architecture, survey fees if you're doing a custom. But this isn't a custom build, which means you get to save some of those costs, which is another reason why this came in at less than $230,000 to make the build happen. Yeah, and another chunk of work was the countertops, cabinets, and install for all of that, including in the bathrooms. That came in at about $13,000 even, including the sinks, which was great. You can go to GS or Pius Kitchen and Bath. Both of them can get you kind of a full, nice kitchen for between $10,000 and $15,000. If you go custom, it's gonna double that cost. When you think you're done, you still have all these punch list items. And those punch list items are kind of hard to hire for, because if you hire poorly for your final punch list items, this is like hanging shelving. So you have to pay these guys quite a bit to come in and finish this stuff, even though it's small. So you can end up paying about, I think in my case, I paid about $3,500 for kind of punch list item labor, and then some additional for materials as well. So for the accent pieces, like the balusters going up the stairs and the vertical slat wall behind us and the open shelves, I actually did those myself because I like finished carpentry work. And it also saves a chunk of money because the finished carpenters, as you all can guess, is pretty expensive. So if it's something you enjoy, if there's some kind of high value task that you enjoy, doing it yourself is another way you can bring down those build costs, which is super fun, kind of get in the build and actually get to create something you enjoy. Right, so yeah, I'm extremely happy with where we landed. You know, it's once again that $70,000 less than I had penciled. It did take a ton of work. You know, I am my own general contractor. I have to manage all material delivery. I have to find all the subs, I have to manage the subs, I have to do the permitting. It's a massive amount of work, but GCs are expensive. Adding a GC fee onto this build would have absolutely pushed us into that $300,000 range. And I really enjoy the process of being in the weeds, of kind of making this build happen from start to finish, and ultimately being able to build more because I spent less. So what did I learn? You know, first up, probably the biggest thing I learned is that you can build 1,000 square feet, 2-bed, 2-bath home in Seattle for less than $230,000. The biggest part of that is I'm acting as the owner builder. You know, I'm managing everything and responsible for everything from permitting to subcontractors to materials. And if you're not the owner builder and you're not acting as the GC, you need to tack on 18 to 25% over, you know, whatever build cost you're looking at if you were to do it yourself. Another big thing I learned, and I feel like this is something you have to continually learn, is you have to choose good contractors. You have to choose good people, and you have to manage them well, and you have to have a good scope of work. It needs to be well-defined and well-communicated. I just learned over and over and over again, when I put more effort into finding good contractors, which means calling up friends, getting on Facebook groups, calling people, forming kind of relationships over time where I have multiple interactions with people before I work with them. All those things really matter. It's just a huge benefit. And kind of another specific thing you can do is combine multiple tasks under one contractor. You know, we talked about that a little bit with combine paint, exterior paint, interior paint, and drywall under one contractor, because all those things have dependencies, right? So try to find contractors who are able to handle a scope of work that's completely independent. So hang the drywall, mud the drywall, texture the drywall, paint the drywall, and then come back at the end and touch up the drywall. Huge win right there. That just saves you massive amounts of effort. And when you're the GC, when you're the owner builder, you can only be in so many places at the same time, and you're gonna have to find ways to outsource responsibility to your subs. And combining tasks, combining like bigger scopes of work is the way you do that. But ultimately it rests on finding good people, because only talented, reliable subcontractors are gonna be able to handle bigger scopes of work. So it all comes down to find good people, communicate well, manage them well, and you'll have such an easier time with your build. Another thing I learned was, and this is another thing I'm continually learning, is you have to take responsibility for all the details. You know, especially the details that fall between two different trades. And this one is another one that feels kind of obvious, but it's something, it's kind of core to being a good builder. Like if you want to do a good job as a builder, you have to be maniacally focused on the details between different subs. So when the framers are done, or you think they're done, are the walls actually straight? Do the windows actually line up? Did they hit all the hardware? Are the drywallers gonna be happy with their work? You know, as the owner builder, that's your responsibility to make sure that it's ready 100% to go for the drywallers. Because if you do a really good job on making sure that that first step is done, the next trade down the line is gonna be happier, and they're gonna be work faster, and you're gonna get things done cheaper and more quickly. And that's how you win. So what's my line here? I forget. How am I?
No idea.
Yeah, so so one other note, this is a 4-star built green home, which means it has to meet these really stringent requirements for sustainability. There are actually something like 400 different requirements you have to meet. And this is required anytime you build 2 accessory dwelling units. So if you want to turn like a single family home into 3 units, then one of them has to be 4-star built green. And there's not a lot of info out there on this. So you really only need kind of one note here, which is go to the Built Green website, find yourself a verifier, give them a call and ask them, how do I do this? Because honestly, it's far too complicated to kind of break down in the video, and you're really just gonna wanna talk to a professional. But you wanna do it as soon as possible because there are so many steps you have to take and so many gotchas. So talk to your verifier, come up with your plan, and go ahead and build an extremely sustainable and efficient house. All right, this one is done. This detached accessory dwelling unit is now finished. Thank you so much for coming along on this journey with us. But you might be wondering, what happens next? Well, what happens next is already here, because if you just go 7 feet from the edge of that building, you'll end up in another construction zone. Because we've got an attached accessory dwelling unit under construction. We're gonna start pouring concrete next Monday, and I'm super excited to show you guys about that entire process, what it costs, all the details, everything we learn along the way. So thank you so much for joining us, and to more videos here in a minute. I'm over foundations.